On this week's show, the 2021 regular season for the CFL kicks off with a rematch of the 2019 Grey Cup, and the Pro Football Hall of Fame inducts not one, but two Hall of Fame classes.
In this week's history lesson, we look back at some of the highlights and lowlights of our podcast with excerpts from past shows.
That and much more this week in the world of football.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 209 for August 10th, 2021. I'm your host, Randy Snow, and across the table from me, as always, is my son, Adam.
Yes, we're doing it.
It's a little warm in the man cave today.
A little warm, yeah.
It's going up to a high of, I think, 89 degrees here in Michigan.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it was pretty hot out there.
Yeah. So hopefully we won't be sweating too much by the time we're done with this.
Right.
We come to you each week from the World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world, Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. From the NFL to the CFL to the XFL, college, high school, indoor, and arena football, we inform and entertain our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So let's start with reviewing what happened this past week with Adam and the World of Football scoreboard.
That's right, everybody. The CFL's back, and I can't be happier about it.
Oh, man. It's so good to watch some CFL football.
Oh, I know. I think I caught a little bit of every single game this week.
Yep.
I didn't get to sit down and watch a full game, I don't
Right.
think, but being able to see CFL either on my phone. At one point, I was out at dinner. I watched a little bit on my phone. My friends yelled at me, so I put it away.
I think 3 of the 4 games were on television that we could catch. The Toronto game was the one.
Yeah, that's the one I watched on my phone, yeah.
We caught the highlights, but it wasn't live on TV like the other 3 were.
Yeah, but I mean, it's great to see the CFL back after, what'd you say, 628 days since the last CFL game was played. At least when the first game we're going to talk about was played. So yeah, we kicked things off last Thursday night. It was the Winnipeg Blue Bombers defeating the Hamilton Tiger Cats 19-6. During the game, or before the game rather, the Bombers unveiled their 2019 Grey Cup banner.
Yeah, and they said they weren't going to do that until they had a full stadium, because they were talking about doing it last season, before it started and all, and of course
obviously
last season got canceled, and so they said, man, we're not putting it up until we have fans in the stands, because they thought they might be playing to empty stadiums last year, and that's when they decided, gonna wait till we got fans here, and then we're gonna do it, and they did.
Yeah, because I thought it would be like an individual banner. It was more of like just a big, just adding the year to the big banner, 11-time Grey Cup champion.
Right.
So regardless, still cool. It'd be great to be a fan up there to see that get posted.
Sure.
But hey, let's talk about the game itself. And the game wasn't terribly exciting. It started off exciting because the Tiger Cats came out and threw a bomb of a touchdown, scoring first. But after that, it was all Blue Bombers, scoring 19 unanswered to obviously win the game. Yeah. I mean, some of the highlights from the game. How about quarterback Zach Collaros of Winnipeg? 18 of 28, 217-yard passing with 2 touchdown passes.
Yeah.
Just a great performance by him. I thought the Blue Bombers looked pretty good. And Hamilton, boy, oh boy, I was really pulling for them, but they just looked like they were struggling most of the time. Masoli, kind of uncharacteristically throwing, at least to me, I thought Masoli looked a little rusty.
Well,
other than that first touchdown.
Yeah, it's going to be rough for a while because they had no preseason.
Yeah.
No preseason games against anybody else. They've only been in camp for a couple weeks, and so this was their first real action against another team. I don't think they even scrimmaged, did they?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't think they got together and scrimmaged with other teams. So this is the first chance they had to hit somebody else that wasn't in their own jersey uniform. So
we expected some rust this first week, but there's still some great games. Like, we're going to transition to the next game, which we watched the first half, and boy, did we miss the second half. Definitely a tale of 2 different halves here. British Columbia fell to the Saskatchewan Roughriders 33-29. Saskatchewan, it was a sellout crowd there. They were up 31-0 in the first half, and then 32-9 going into halftime. You wrote it down wrong in the script.
Did I?
Definitely Saskatchewan.
Okay. I got BC over Saskatchewan.
He's got a quizzical look on his face. But No, that's what happened.
Another faux pas on my rundown.
Yeah,
It happens every now and
terrible
then.
research staff that puts these notes together for 4 years. Dang it! Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to mention up top. It's our 4th anniversary show.
Yeah,
that
that's
was
right.
one little thing. I'm so used to doing the intro, but you added
Now
that.
that I did have that written down.
You did have that. So there.
Yeah, this is our 4th anniversary show, folks.
Yeah.
We've been doing this for 4 years, 209 consecutive weeks. Not a break anywhere in 4 years, and so
it certainly feels like it's been.
Yeah, it was August 13th of 2017, 2018.
Yeah, so 2017 probably 2018, 19, 20, 21.
18.
I'd say 2014.
2014.
2017. Sorry, I can't speak. And all I do is talk on podcasts for a living.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, back to the game at hand. So, as we mentioned, the Rough Riders were up 32-9 at halftime. But obviously, right before halftime, the last thing we saw was British Columbia kicker Takaru Yamasaki becoming the first Japanese-born player to score points in the CFL with a 43-yard field goal there.
Yeah.
Heck of a kick. It just barely
made it in, but it still counted.
And, I mean, he got a point later on after a missed field goal that wasn't returned, Rouge. So, a little bit, I mean, obviously a great moment there. I don't know if you saw the cool football he got with some Japanese lettering on it.
Yes.
That was pretty neat.
Yes.
So, really cool moment for that, to end the first half. But then the second half, British Columbia just clawing back. Starting quarterback, was it Mark Riley, came out. Instead, they had a backup playing, or a rookie quarterback playing for the first half. I guess Riley had a bum arm or something, and he just didn't feel like he could go to the beginning of the game. Second half, of course, they're getting beat. Maybe he feels like, well, maybe I can. He goes out, he throws some passes, but you could tell during some of those highlights that he just didn't have that zip. He was really floating the ball around, and some of the receivers had to really compensate and make those catches. And then he went back out of the game, and I forget the rookie quarterback's Rourke. I'm not sure. Is his last name?
Yeah, he played at
University of Ohio. Yeah. But he came in. I mean, then he looked pretty decent at some points. Threw a couple interceptions during the game. But the fact that they clawed back and they only lost by 4 points, and that in the second half they held Saskatchewan to 1 point, is pretty good. So who knows what these teams will be in the future? But congratulations to Saskatchewan. And I know one other note you wanted to make was that Yamasaki, the kicker there for British Columbia, was the 19th overall pick in the CFL's 2021 Global Draft.
Yeah, they have the Global Draft where they have contracts with football leagues around the world, Australia and Europe and Japan, and they have a Global Draft of just those players from other countries. And being the 19th pick, that would have made him the first pick in the 3rd round of the draft. So good for him. Their punter and holder for kicks.
Yeah, the punter was from Australia.
Was from Australia. Yeah. So they a couple of foreign guys, and every team I think just about grabbed a kicker in that draft. So we'll see how they all work out. And congratulations to Takaru Yamasaki for getting his first field goal in the CFL. Congratulations.
All right, so then we move on real quick to the next game. The Toronto Argonauts defeated the Calgary Stampeders 23-20. Calgary was up in this game late, mid-4th quarter, up 20-12. But Toronto was able to put another drive together. They scored a touchdown. Then later on, they were able to kick a 32-yard field goal with 41 seconds remaining to essentially take the lead. And then with the 30-whatever seconds left, Calgary gets the ball back, throws an interception.
Right.
Toronto seals the deal.
Yep.
But what a game by McLeod Bethel Thompson, quarterback of the Argonauts there. 24 of 37, 354 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, a few quarterbacks got over the 300-yard mark this week, but man, oh man, 350 yards just really jumped out to me when looking back at this game.
Yep, that's a bunch.
Yep. All right, moving on. Then the final game of the week, we saw the Ottawa Redblacks take on the Edmonton Elks in a very defensive battle. This was something else. Ottawa took the game 16-12. They had a combined 7 field goals. Can you believe that? That's just nuts.
Yeah, this was the battle of the field goal kickers this week.
And they were both perfect. I think
yes.
Sean White of Edmonton, it would have been Edmonton's kicker was 4 for 4, and then Ottawa's kicker was 3 for 3. Mm-hmm. So shoot perfect kicking. So no worries from those guys, but a little concerned about their offenses. But don't be worried about Ottawa's defense because they came to play. They had 3 sacks, 3 interceptions during the game, including an interception return for a touchdown, which had to have been 100 yards. I didn't look up exactly how many yards.
You said he
caught it about the 10.
Right about the 10-yard line. And it's a 110-yard field, so that's 100 yards.
So I'm not sure what it officially got marked at. Is it 100, 99?
Yeah.
But whatever, it was still awesome. And that dude, and even more memorable by the dude's just long hair going all the way down to his butt.
Yeah.
And then he flipped into the end zone. That was a great play.
He has the longest hair in the CFL. I kid you not. You cannot read his number because it goes down to his belt. All the way down to his butt crack, I think. It is so long. And there's another guy on the team, too, who wears number 0. Yeah. His is almost as long. But, yeah, the guy that returned the kick.
That was a great play.
Wow. Great hair.
Yeah, great hair, great play.
He should be doing those Head and Shoulders commercials with
Palomalu.
Troy Polamalu, yeah. The battle of the hair in that one.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. That's probably my play of the week. If not that'll be a recurring segment, but if I had to pick a play, that was pretty good.
That was great
because that catch was bobbled. It was up in the air, and that defensive back just took it and ran all the way back. So that was pretty good. So on top of that, I believe Edmonton's defense didn't slouch either. They had 5 sacks, I want to say, if I remember looking at the stat sheet correctly. I didn't write it down, but I think they had about 5 sacks. But how about this stat line for Edmonton quarterback Trevor Harris? He was 33 of 44 for 333 yards passing and only 3 interceptions. No touchdown. Man, each of those interceptions was a killer, especially the one return for a touchdown. But that's it for the CFL scores. And then on bye this week, the lone team on bye, the Montreal Alouettes, who will play Edmonton next week. So I'm very excited about that. And it was cool to also see the Elks in action.
Yeah.
See the new, the uniforms were that big a change, but to see the name, to hear the name throughout, most of the game and the highlights that we caught and the fans. And it was cool, even a defensive back. Or the defensive players, after making a big play, did the antler thing.
And I was thumbs in their ear holes and wiggle their fingers for the antlers up. That's kind of like their motto this year, I guess.
But I guess they also had I wasn't completely sure on the details, but they had like a transition of like some tradition there with a flag going from like an old Edmonton Eskimos flag, I think now to a Elks flag. So kind of bridging those, that old to the new, which was kind of cool. So I think that's cool. For Edmonton, like I said, I like the Elks logo. I like the name, and I love saying it. So
the helmet could be a little bit better, and I thought they were going to keep the old double E helmet.
I think they could still break that out. I think especially those ones with the big E on the side.
But the elk antlers on the helmet should be a little more defined. From a distance, you can't make them out.
I wouldn't say defined. It's so small. It's not like it doesn't stick out as visually as like a Eagles helmet, which is pretty simplistic, but. Whatever. I think they got room to tweak it and mess with it.
Sure.
Because if anything, the CFL's always got crazy helmet designs that they'll play with. But so let's talk about the standings real quick. Obviously, it's week 1, so not a whole lot here. Obviously, in the West, you're going to have Saskatchewan and Winnipeg at 1-0 at the top of that, with Calgary, Edmonton, and British Columbia all following suit in the bottom at 0-1. Over in the East, we got Ottawa and Toronto both at 1-0. Montreal obviously having not played a game at 0-0, and Hamilton at 0-1, rounding that out.
Okay.
All right. Now to move on to, and here on the World of Football, this week in the World of Football, we don't really talk about preseason a whole lot. We'll highlight
NFL preseason.
NFL preseason, at least. Because obviously you're going to follow your team preseason unless something big happens. I mean, it's just preseason, and unless somebody gets hurt or maybe if there's a crazy 99-point game, which has never happened, then we'd talk about it. But we're going to talk about this game though, the Hall of Fame game, the first preseason game of the year, really kicking off the NFL's 2021 season. So it was the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on and pretty much, I won't say clobbering, but they pretty much put a handle on the Dallas Cowboys, 16-3. Quarterback Dak Prescott for Dallas did not travel with the team. So obviously he wasn't in the game. It was all pretty much backups. Dallas was up 3-0 in the first half. They scored in the first quarter. There was no scoring at all in the second quarter. And then they were shut out in the second half. And Pittsburgh, got their 16 points. So whatever. But I did want to note that Dallas backup quarterback Garrett Gilbert, who was 9 of 13 for 104 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, he was the quarterback of the Orlando Apollos in the AAF a couple years back.
Yeah, back in 2018.
I remember him being real good in there, and he's, kind of been all over the place as a backup the last several years. So I just wanted to throw that out there. That was a big memorable thing for me. Other than that, it was a preseason game, guys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much all I got to say about that. And obviously, we're going to talk more about Hall of Fame weekend as we go along.
The big thing about the Hall of Fame game is they'll bring several of the. I mean, they had so many this year you couldn't bring everybody in, but they brought in a number of the inductees.
Right. It's always cool to hear them come into the broadcast booth.
Peyton Manning was in the booth. Other people they interviewed on the sidelines from reporters, and so it's always good to hear from those guys. But the game was just whatever.
Yeah.
I would kind of like to go to one. If the Lions play in one in the next few years, I may decide to go.
I've never seen them play in one. I think they played.
It's been a long time since they've been in a Hall of Fame game.
This would have been a good year for it with Alex Karras and
Calvin
Johnson going in, but what can you do? There were a lot of Steelers though, so I get it with the Steelers. Quite a few Cowboys as well, so I get it.
Yeah.
But I just I'd almost like to see the Lions in it, but at the same time, now with only 3 preseason games, do we really want that 4th one back? I don't know if I do.
I've told you this before. I remember a time back in
6 preseason games.
They played 7.
What the?
7. The Hall of Fame
So
game
was the 7th
preseason game because they had
that
6 preseason games and then the Hall of Fame game. So you played 7 games before you started your regular season. And Detroit did that one.
That just sounds way too much for me. They should turn all those into regular season games. Moving on, we got some indoor football league scores from Week 16. First game we got the Massachusetts Pirates took out the Green Bay Blizzard 50-33. Moving on, the Iowa Barnstormers got a narrow victory over the Bismarck Bucks 48-41. The Frisco Fighters escaped. Well, I guess I can't say escaped. You know how I like to use my fun adjectives there. The Frisco Fighters took out the Spokane Shock 45-34. The Duke City Gladiators pretty much stomped all over the Arizona Wranglers 71-11. Now, this was a highlight we saw at the very end of the game. They were already up 64-65-11. And the Wranglers were like, whatever, we're going to try to score anyway. Pride. And interception return for a touchdown, which made it
right around the goal line. So it was returned 50 yards.
And then the returner got about taken out in the end zone by one of his coaches or somebody in a nice.
His coach was so excited, he clotheslined him or whatever and knocked him on the ground.
It was pretty good. And then finally, we had the Arizona Rattlers take out the Tucson Sugar Skulls 55-28. And on bye this week in the Indoor Football League, the Sioux Falls Storm. Now, I've been saying I wanted to do this for a while, but we're going to look at the standings since they're getting close to the end of their season. Obviously, starting from number 1, going down to the bottom, the Arizona Wranglers at number 1. Then the Frisco Fighters, Massachusetts Pirates, followed by Spokane, Bismarck, Duke City, Iowa, Sioux Falls, Green Bay, Tucson, and then rounding out the whole league, Northern Arizona at 1-11.
Yeah, only won one game.
And to score 11 points, that's a little oof.
Yeah.
Well, 11 points for your 11th loss.
It's their first year in the league, so first year anywhere. So yeah, it's going to be a learning experience for those guys.
Yep.
Maybe they'll do better next year if they come back.
Yeah, we'll see. Moving on to the National Arena League, and they are in their semifinal playoff round. The winners are going to go to the National Arena League championship game. So we start off with the number 1 ranked Albany Empire taking out the Carolina Cobras 55-41. And in our second matchup, the number 2 ranked Columbus Lions took out the Orlando Predators 61-43, setting up our matchup in the championship game between Columbus and Albany. That game will be this Saturday, August 14th at 7 o'clock. You can find the game on YouTube. And these two teams, great records. Columbus at 7-2, Albany at 8-1, the top 2 teams in the league.
They are the top 2.
And we've been to Albany before for arena football games. They're in the same stadium, that Times Union Center.
Yep.
Great facility.
Yeah.
That should be a great crowd. I love those Albany fans out there. So.
Yeah, we kind of figured it was going to be Albany and Columbus, but you never know. Once you get in the playoffs, somebody
anything
has a really
can happen.
good game.
I like to bring up in the Arena League how the Washington Valor, with only 1 or 2 wins, took the whole thing in the playoffs because they only had 4 teams at the time.
They caught on fire in the playoffs and just beat everybody.
Yeah. But that does it for the World of Football scoreboard. Now I'm going to throw it over to you for some news.
All right, we're going to start with NFL news. The first thing I've got here is that Las Vegas Raiders GM Mike Mayock tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah.
So it's still out there, folks.
Of course. I mean, we've heard of players getting it. We talked about Lamar getting it last week. He finally came back. this week. Kirk Cousins was another one
Yep.
that kind of got brought up a little bit. But
mainly you talk about players, getting it, and maybe some of the coaches. But here's a general manager of the team. So I don't know how many, how close he was to a lot of the players, and what kind of contact he had with them.
right, or how many people in that front office,
Right.
Might have contracted, or who knows. I don't remember hearing anything about if he's vaccinated or not.
Right.
Really, I mean, just get vaccinated, people. Whatever. I don't think it's that complicated, but whatever. But I mean, I hope he's all right. I haven't heard anything too bad right now, other than that he tested positive. That could just mean asymptomatic. I haven't heard any details whether or not. So
that was the first thing I heard after our podcast last week. It was like on Wednesday or Thursday. So that was the first note I made for this week.
Yeah.
And I haven't really heard anything the rest of the week, how he's doing, how severe his symptoms were or whatever. So that's all I knew. But he did test positive last week. Yeah. All right, Jimmy Johnson. Not only is he going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but now they're actually going to put him in the Cowboys Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
And that makes sense, too. I mean, if you're in the Hall of Fame, you're going to go on your team's Ring of Honor.
Right.
You obviously have had a great career and all that. But, yeah, so he's I haven't seen a date for his induction this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure at the top of my head.
During one of the games. But look for Jimmy Johnson to be inducted into the Cowboys Ring of Honor this fall. The big news as far as players and contracts was quarterback Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. He and the Bills have come to an agreement on a 6-year contract extension, which is going to take him through 2028. And the contract is worth $258 million, with $150 million of that being guaranteed, and that guaranteed money, I believe, is the most in NFL history.
Yeah, this is a big deal. Like, I think Josh Allen was good. He had a great season last season, and he showed promise.
Yep.
Maybe not his rookie year. He looked okay. People were like, oh, maybe he'll be good. Second year, definitely better. But last year, I believe last year was his third season. I want to say.
I do not know.
I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I mean, last year, obviously, breakout. He was phenomenal. He got some weapons, and he looked like the reincarnation of Jim Kelly, pretty much. So, I mean, I'm excited. A nice young quarterback. Every few years, everybody worries when one crop of quarterbacks looks like they're about ready to retire, and we got this whole young crop. We're like, oh, is the young crop gonna be able to carry the league like the old guard? And guys, we're gonna be just fine in the NFL. Josh Allen is a talent. I like watching him. This is a big commitment, and I mean, kudos for him on making $258 million, which crazy stat alert. I did not even think about this or know about this, but I saw the stat saying this is almost as much for, so what is this? For the 6-year contract. That amount of money is about as much as Tom Brady made in 21 years in the NFL. Tom Brady, I think, raked in like 261 million in 21 years. And Josh Allen will be essentially maybe getting 258 over 6 seasons is just bonkers to me.
Yeah. Well, times changed. A lot of the guys years ago weren't making nearly the money they're making now.
That and Tom Brady would always take a discount. I mean, he was always willing to help the team and like, hey, I'll take a bit of a pay cut if it means putting the best team on the field.
Sure.
And he's got 7 Super Bowls. Well, let's see, 6 with New England to show for that. So.
He's not hurting for money, so
I don't think
he's
his wife's the real breadwinner. We can say
he'd rather have the 7 Super Bowl rings than to be have the most amount of money made in the league.
I mean, right now he could have both.
He'll make it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Hall of Fame inductions.
Hey, yeah. What a great weekend for the Hall of Fame.
They might want to think about doing this more often because
putting in 2 classes at once.
2 classes in the same year.
I don't know if I'd want to make a whole class wait another year on purpose.
Because the class of 2021 was only
7 guys,
7, 8 guys, and the other class, of course, they did several. It was a total of 20 guys in the 2020 class, the Centennial class. So several of them were inducted earlier this year, like Alex Karras, the ones that had passed away. They had a special ceremony for them. So that was about 5 or 6, 7 guys.
Yeah, something like that.
So the rest of them were all inducted this past weekend. You had coaches like Jimmy Johnson and
Bill Cowher.
A lot of other players and coaches and whatnot, executives. So that was kind of fun to see all that. And then on Saturday night, that's what we were waiting for because
Sunday night we watched.
I'm sorry, Sunday night was the class of 2021. And we wanted to see Peyton Manning and
and
Calvin Johnson,
yeah.
and both of their speeches I thought were pretty good. But
Yeah.
I think to me, Peyton Manning had the best speech. He was funny.
Kinda...
It was very Peyton-esque. It started out really funny. He had all kinds of jokes and one-liners, and then towards the end, he got very serious. And but yeah, he started out with all of his jokes. He got them all out of the way up front. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I think Peyton obviously was the one we figured would be that. He's been on TV everywhere. Great personality.
Yep.
Does a lot of public speaking anyway. Not that any of these other guys don't do that, but it was just we kind of figured Peyton would bring it, and he did. So I think I don't want to sit here and rank all the speeches, but I mean his was great. And depending on which guy you watched, or at least were a fan of that team, like if you're a Raiders or Packers fan, I'm sure Charles Woodson's speech was awesome, and it was awesome. I liked it a lot. You pointed out he had no notes. He just came up, talked about his mama, sang to his mama, and I thought he had a pretty darn good speech.
Yeah.
Calvin, obviously being Lions fans, we'll be pretty biased about that. I thought his speech was really good. I mean, he obviously showed how much he cared for the fans. It was very obvious he was not thanking the organization, which is an ongoing thing. Which,
we knew going into his speech he was not going to thank the Lions because he and the
organization. He thanked teammates
the
and the fans.
They're still kind of at odds over some money.
Which is ridiculous. And we can vent about that a different day. But regardless, I thought it was a great speech. Every guy kind of had a unique message of their own, which I appreciated. Like Calvin's was all about the wellness of players, playing and when you're not playing.
Because that's what he went through.
Yeah, because that's what he went through. And some stuff, we've all heard about. Some stuff you might not have known about. For a minute, we thought he was actually going to break into a commercial for his weed business, but I thought he did it really elegantly and just really professionally. He brought it up, but he didn't just flat out say weed. He's like, look, there's stuff out there that better than opioids. I'm paraphrasing, and I thought it was poignant. I loved his speech. But one that really stuck out to me that I think if I were to rank him, it'd probably be up. It's probably number 2 for me is Tom Flores, the old Raiders coach and quarterback. I loved his speech. How old was he coming up there? He was like 80 something.
I forget. He's up there though.
He was up there, but man, they
brought him out in a wheelchair.
And I was like, how's this gonna work out? Is he gonna just sit at the front of the stage with a microphone, sit in the wheelchair, which is fine by me.
Sure.
But he stood up. He had his cane. He took the thing off of his bus with Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. And then he stood up there at that podium for a good 10 minutes and gave a heck of a speech. He was funny. He was heartfelt. I think he hit all the notes. And I thought that was a great speech. Mm-hmm. I thought that was top 2. Probably right below Peyton's. It was probably my second favorite if I had to rank the speeches.
And he said that he was old school and he had his notes.
Oh, he did.
They were probably handwritten because it looked like like notebook paper.
Maybe.
Like he had everything all written out or whatever.
Maybe.
But he said, I'm not going to use a teleprompter.
A couple of times the papers looked like they're about to fly off the podium. I was like, those are some good reflexes, Mr. Flores.
Now, were you even familiar with Tom Flores before this?
Yeah, I probably couldn't have told you who he coached for. Like the name sounded familiar. And his face was very familiar. I probably could have said, I think he might have coached the Raiders. I don't know. I didn't know he was a quarterback before that. Makes some sense. And that he was the guy who followed up John Madden. And he won 2 Super Bowls with the Raiders in 2 different cities. Like, that's crazy to me. Like, this guy should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago.
And he did a TV commercial just recently. I forget what it was for. But
it was probably a beer commercial because for years people were saying put Tom Flores in the Hall. And maybe that was one where I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, he was like sitting in a lawn chair by a pool or something. And, And he's got quite a personality.
He's great.
It was great to see him.
Like I said, probably my second favorite behind Peyton's speech. Always. And that's even going above Calvin, who obviously I loved Calvin's speech. But there was just something about Tom Flores' speech that just I appreciate it. And I know that sounds weird because having never grown up watching him, this is the whole point of this Hall of Fame weekend for people of my generation and the kids younger than me. So I'm 32. There's going to be kids younger than me who definitely have no clue, unless you're a Raiders fan and know Raiders history or lore, that wouldn't know who this guy was. Mm-hmm. I barely knew who the guy was, and I was riveted by his speech. And a lot of these guys who I probably never watched play, to see their speeches was great.
It's one thing to see a man get wheeled out in a wheelchair, and you think, oh my God, here's this frail old man. How is he going to make a speech? And then to see him stand up. I think he had a cane for a moment, but once he stood at the podium, he just hung onto the podium and didn't have his cane with him. And to give, to me, a powerful speech for an 80-something-year-old guy, it was great to listen to, and it was great to see that there's still a lot of life in that guy and his passion for the game and the players that played for him and all that. So yeah, that speech is right up there for me too.
Yep. Anything else from the weekend stood out to you? Because the other thing that stood out to me was all the great hair that was done on the bus. I mean, let's admit it. I mean, between Edgerrin James's, which was awesome, then the first guy the Cowboys receiver who went in, not Mike Patton, is it? Who's number 88? Come on.
Drew Pearson.
Drew Pearson. Thank you. Good Lord. Drew Pearson's awesome afro on his bus, and then you had Tom Flores's awesome hair on his bus.
He's had that pompadour or whatever you call it.
Then of course the best one is Troy Polamalu's bus on Saturday.
Like that.
Was
great. So awesome, and he turned it around so everybody could see it.
that was pretty good. And if you guys haven't seen that, go look for that video.
Yeah.
Because it's great. It was all over Twitter, Instagram. You can go onto YouTube, I'm sure, and find it. Just some fantastic stuff. And I didn't get to watch the stuff on Saturday. I was out and about, but I saw the highlights of a lot of the guys' speeches. And Jimmy Johnson, great. Bill Cowher, great. Edgerrin James's was phenomenal. Had one of the best lines of a speech at the very end where he's like, I came into the league with gold teeth, and I walked out with a gold jacket.
Yep.
Again, paraphrasing.
Started with gold teeth, ended with a gold jacket.
And I think at one point he even opened the inside of his jacket, and each jacket's got the number of what induction they were. And he was like, people thought I'd go to prison, or I was just perceived to be that type of guy. But here I am, and I'm a proud inmate of
number 326
of the Canton Pro Football Correctional Facility, or however he said it. I just thought that was a great speech.
That was really good too.
So a heck of a Hall of Fame weekend. That's all I got.
It's going to be tough to beat this particular weekend. With so many speeches.
And especially, with two classes going in a weekend, that is going to be really hard to top.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had the shortened speeches.
Yeah, only 6 minutes.
They say 6, or Peyton said 6. They were all about 10 minutes. I wonder if they gave him 10 minutes, but Peyton just said 6.
I don't know.
Whatever. It worked. We've watched speeches in the past, and guys tend to drone on, and I think that's the drawback. It's like, look, I love that Kurt Warner got to go up and speak. I forget how long his speech was, 15, maybe 20 minutes. I don't remember. But I do think you got to rein these guys in, and I think that's the way they got to do it from now on. So, like Peyton was joking, in a few years, all Tom Brady's going to be able to do is post a congratulate or a thank you on Instagram.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's all the time they're going to give him.
Which I thought was great. Yeah, Peyton, his was number one. but yeah, I think in the future for the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction speeches and stuff, you got to give them that time limit. I think there's a lot more that they could say, but shoot, they got so many media platforms for them to get the rest of their message out. I'd say give them just that nice 10-minute speech window. Get in, get out, move everything along, and I think more people will watch. I'd probably watch it knowing they're on a time limit, and I'm not going to be sitting there like, this guy is just dragging on about one day at preschool in 1940 whatever. Why do I want to sit here?
And he's the guy speaking just before the guy you really want to listen to. And hurry up and get off the stage so that I can hear the one I'm here for.
But I don't think there's any, especially these Hall of Famers, I don't think there's a bad speech that can be given. There's just, depending on what team you follow or whether or not you watch that player, I mean, that's going to hit you differently. So, I think Pearson's was energetic, but I mean, in comparison to everybody else's speeches, I mean, you just go, well, yeah, I barely talked about Pearson's speech because all these other ones were just so memorable. It was a big class. It was a tough class to contend with because John Lynch's was great.
Yeah.
So was Alan Fanika's speech. He had a great voice too.
There were no bad speeches.
There's no bad speech. I'm just saying, but some of them, like I said, we didn't bring up Pearson's speech till just now. But there was just so much goodness and so many other speeches that, I won't say they got overshadowed, but it, hard to bring up everybody when certain ones are the ones that stick out. But yeah, there's no bad speeches at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And one of these days, I would love to be there for a future Lion. But which line is that going to be at this point? Calvin was the last great Lion we had.
I'm still stumping for
Stafford,
Chris Spielman.
Oh yeah, that's right. We talked about that. Spielman, Herman Moore.
Stafford probably will be in someday.
Maybe we'll see how he does in L.A.
Chris Spielman and Jason Hansen.
Oh yeah, Jason
to
Hansen
me are two that.
Maybe what about Robert Porcher?
And Herman Moore.
Well, I already said Herman Moore.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't
Herman Moore, yeah, of course Herman Moore. But
Robert Porcher, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. maybe Matt Prater someday, played with the Lions a little bit. Maybe he'll go in. Kicked the longest field goal in NFL history.
Yeah.
Played with Detroit for several years.
Yeah.
Most 50-yard field goals in a career, right? Or with the Lions.
Yeah, I think
one of those stats.
Yeah, I think.
So we had a few, but I mean, Stafford's got to win some playoff games and maybe win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then we can go, hey, we have another Lion in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Yeah,
Otherwise,
he was a Lion for 9 years. He was only with the Rams a couple.
Well, he was with the Lions for 12 years.
Oh, 12. Was it 12?
Calvin was there for 9.
Okay.
Stafford, 12 years. I know the Lions took 12 years of his life. Ugh.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. We love you, though.
That's a whole other subject I don't want to get into right now.
All right, what's next?
All right. BetMGM and the Arizona Cardinals have entered into a partnership, and they're going to be the first team in the NFL to actually have a sports book in their stadium. I don't know if I like this or not.
Well, you don't gamble, so what's it matter to you?
I know it's coming. That's the way of the future, I guess. But they're the first ones. So eventually probably every team in the NFL is going to have a sports book in their stadium where people can, you go buy a beer and then you move right over and you put the rest of the money you got in your pocket on prop bets for the game or something.
I'm going to have to ask my old roommate, because he lives out there in Arizona. He's actually going to go to a Cardinals game this upcoming season. I'm going to have to ask him to check out this sports book. Tell him not to spend his money. Be responsible. Don't spend your money.
Send me a picture of it.
But at least I'm curious. I'm sure there'll be pictures of what the sports book looks like. I'm just going to be curious about, is it just like a random booth you walk up to, or is it just a kiosk that you go up and
is anybody actually using it during the game because everybody's doing it on their phone?
Right, yeah, that's the other thing, because I've used FanDuel for some NBA games just to try it out, and I'm not going to say how much I won, which was a lot, but
you were lucky. You were lucky to not lose your butt.
That's very true. But I stopped. After I was done with that money, I haven't gone back to that app. Maybe I'll do some regular season games and put my money where my mouth is when we do our picks this season. But no, I'm very curious about this. And when that alert came in, yesterday when we were kind of sitting down talking about the show today, this popped up, and this is a big deal. And this could be the first domino in more teams announcing partnerships like this.
Yeah. All right, and finally in NFL news, for the 15th consecutive year, the Dallas Cowboys are rated as the most valuable franchise in the league, according to Forbes magazine. They put this list out every year.
Right. We talk about this list every year.
And the largest one-year increase in value was for Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who increased by 20%.
Now, when I heard that, sorry to interrupt you, but when I heard that and they said increase, I was expecting them to be jumped up into the top 10, top 5.
Yeah.
But they're what? They're sitting at 21.
21, yeah.
So I was like, whoa, that's still pretty low.
By percentage of what their value is, their value went up by 29% because they won a Super Bowl. But let's get into the list a little bit here. We're not going to read everyone, but of course,
let's give the top 5.
The Dallas Cowboys are number 1, and they are valued at $6.5 billion with a one-year increase of 14%. Now, every team in the league increased their value over last year, and there were no fans in the stands last year. This was during a pandemic. Now, I've been saying for years that the NFL can play to empty stadiums.
Which they essentially did last year.
Yep, and they are still making money hand over fist. And so this just proves that I've been right all these years, that the NFL makes all their money from TV contracts, sponsorships, and all this other stuff, that having a person, a stadium full of people that have paid, anywhere from $50 to a couple hundred to, a couple $1,000 to be in the game means nothing. Nothing to their bottom line. Those packed stadiums of 60,000, 80,000 people, whatever, means nothing. They don't care. If you want to come to a game, fine. If you don't, stay home. We're still going to make more money, and we're going to wipe our butt with the leftover singles. That's all there is to it.
Boy, I didn't think this was going to get you riled up quite like this. Good Lord.
All right. So anyway, at number 2 is the New England Patriots.
Not surprised.
With a value of $5 billion. The New York Giants.
Hold on. That's nuts to me that the difference between number 1 and number 2 is still $1.5 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. The Cowboys are a brand. They're all over the place.
Yeah. And they haven't won a Super Bowl in 20 years.
Can't even remember the last time they won a playoff game.
So, so they're just an entity that people love. They love the Cowboy team, the helmet, the logo, and all that. The fact that they're America's team. That's what they like about them. They obviously don't like them because they're winners, because they haven't been in a long time, and in my mind, not in the foreseeable future. But that's beside the point. So Dallas Cowboys 6.5, New England Patriots $5 billion. They also increased by 14%. New York Giants, $4.85 billion, and they increased 13% from last year. The Los Angeles Rams, $4.8 million with a 1 year.
Billion. Don't forget that B.
We're still
That
talking
very
billion,
hard lowercase or uppercase B.
$4.8 billion for the Rams, with an increase of 20% from last year. That's probably due to their new stadium.
Probably. I mean, shoot, what a gorgeous stadium.
And at number 5,
and the fact that they got Matthew Stafford, that probably added some value.
well, there you go. That's the difference. That's why they're at the top of the list now, and we're at the bottom.
Oh,
but anyway,
is that how that works?
Let's see. Los Angeles Rams, $4.8 billion. Washington football team, number 5 on this list.
They don't even have a name.
Yeah, at $4.2 billion with, again, a 20% increase.
I wonder if that has, I mean, we joke, but I wonder if that does have something to do with
doing away with the
Redskin name.
I don't know. Could it have been the fact that their quarterback last year came back from an injury and
Alex Smith
was the highlight of the season?
I don't know
whether they did well or not.
I don't know.
He was the big story.
That was a big story.
But anyway, that's the top 5. You can check out the entire list. We posted a link on our Facebook and Twitter
So
pages.
then let me talk about the bottom 5. So we'll start at number 28, the Tennessee Titans. They had a great season last year. Derrick Henry, obviously, 2,000-yard rusher. They had a 14% increase. So good for them. Number 29, and their value is $2.625 billion.
Yep,
still nothing to sneeze at. Come on, now we're talking still a couple billion more dollars than you or I have or ever will have, probably, unless this show catches fire and takes the internet by storm. Number 29, the Cleveland Browns, valued at $2.6 billion, an 11% increase from last year. And the Browns, another great season. They were in the playoffs. They only won a playoff game, which is awesome. Good for the Browns. And then we get to number 30, our beloved Detroit Lions. We're gonna hang our hat on being number 30 in the most valuable franchise. $2.4 billion. So a difference of $0.2 billion between us and the Browns.
It's a meager $2.4 billion.
Yeah, meager. Still a 14% increase. Like you said, across the board, everybody pretty much made more money. Yeah. So whatever. So the Lions at number 30, number 31, the Cincinnati Bengals. They got a lot of bright spots with Joe Burrow and Jamari Chase. I'm excited to see play wide receiver for them. They're valued at $2.275 billion, 14% increase. And finally, a team we were just talking about earlier who paid their quarterback King's ransom, the Buffalo Bills. Surprises me a little bit. $2.27 billion. 1 year change of 11%. But shoot, they just paid that quarterback that big money. So we'll see how that affects things coming next year. But I mean, Bills Mafia, the Bills fans are great. A little crazy for me, but good for them. And I'm excited about what the Bills do. And they were in the playoffs. So a few of those playoff teams right there in that bottom 5, everybody except for the Detroit Lions, and the Bengals. The Lions and Bengals, 2 out of those 5 teams there that didn't make the playoffs last year.
Yeah, I'm looking over the list real quick, all 32 teams. The lowest amount that anybody increased was 10%. So everybody increased at least by double digits. A couple of teams had 10%.
Wow.
I just saw one here. Who was it?
Yeah, this is great radio.
The San Francisco 49ers at number 6. They only increased 10% last year.
Oh, okay.
And there was one other one here. I can't remember who it was. But, yeah, everybody increased by double-digit percentages last year. So, yeah, that is the NFL for you.
Yeah.
They can survive through a pandemic. The threat of games being canceled and players being told you can't play this week and none of your quarterbacks can play, so you have to start a couple wide receivers or some college kids.
Yeah.
They still everybody went up 10%, and they're all worth billions of dollars. So the pandemic, obviously, financially anyway, didn't hurt them.
Right.
Okay, moving on to some college news. I saw this the other day, and it just floored me. That currently in college football, there are 765 schools across the country that are offering football programs this year. That's from the FBS level, FCS, Division II, Division III, and the NAIA level. 6 new teams are starting this season for the first time. In Division II, you've got the Bluefield State College from West Virginia and Post College from Connecticut. In Division III, you've got Keystone College from Pennsylvania. In the NAIA, you've got Judson University out of Illinois, and I love this one, Mount Marty College from South Dakota. And then finally, you've got Lincoln University out of Oakland, California, and they don't know what division they're going to be playing in yet. They haven't determined that, but they are the it's the sixth team for this season. Between 2015 and 2020, there were 27 schools that added football. And I know we've highlighted a few schools that have canceled their football programs over the last few years. The pandemic was a big part of it. But yeah, 27 schools have added football between 2015 and 2020. And that doesn't even include, it does include another 125 junior college football teams for a total of 890 schools in the country. So if you want to watch college football, you have no excuse. There's got to be one around you someplace. If it's a junior college or a NAIA school, you've got a college that's playing football somewhere near you. Go support these lower division. I don't want to say lower level, but lower division schools, because these kids, they're not going to be going to the NFL, but they're playing the game because they love it, and you need to go out and support these kids. All right. Last week you posted a poll while we were talking.
Yes.
And what was the poll about again?
So we were in a discussion just about preseason, and you just kind of offhanded mentioned that preseason was real football, and I said, no, it is not. Hence why we do not cover it on this show. But a quick poll was thrown up during the show last week, and the fans voted and decided 80% said, no, it is not real football, Randy. And 20% said, yes, Randy, we agree with you, Randy.
Well, I voted for the for the yes, so I was part of that 20%.
Yeah, you might as well have been the whole 20%.
Probably was the only 20%.
So yeah, so whatever. Our fun little poll last week. That's the results for those who didn't see it. But yeah, it's not real football. Come on.
I've been to many preseason games. You know what I like about preseason games? I can go to a game. I can sit in the stadium, and my stomach isn't churning because Detroit is losing yet again. You know, for a preseason game, I don't care if they lose, and I can sit back and just enjoy the play on the field. The young guys trying to make the team and all that.
You know what? I'm not saying that's a bad reason. I mean, that's probably the only reason I'd go to a preseason game. But you know what?
You have been to a preseason game.
I have, and I don't like it now. I've had the taste. I'd rather games that matter. I'd rather go to a game and watch the Lions, rip my heart out at the end of the last 4 seconds, like what always happens, it seems like, than go to a preseason game, sit there for 3 hours just to be like, this is some of the worst football I've ever seen. I know these guys are trying to make the team, but this is just some god-awful football right here. Maybe once or twice you get a guy who gets a breakout like, that was a 65-yard catch. Well, yeah, because the defensive back didn't know a hot route from a slant pass and went the wrong direction, and the guy got open, so whatever. Preseason, I get it. For families who can't afford to maybe take their kids to a regular season game, though a lot of times those preseason tickets are exactly the same amount
all the time,
as a regular season game. Well, it depends on what I've heard. People get deals and they go to preseason games to take the whole family, whatever. But I just would rather take the impact of a regular season game than a meaningless preseason game, because you go in. Depending on which game you pick, do you even know if your starting quarterback's going to even get in there?
That's true.
If you're a little kid and you're like, I want to go see Johnny Manziel play starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Well, you go in and Johnny Manziel's sitting on the bench the whole game. Aren't you a little disappointed?
Because it's the last preseason game and they don't want anybody to get injured.
Well, it depends. Or it's the first preseason game and they don't want to get him in too early. So who knows? It's whatever. I'd rather give me the regular season game. That's real football.
Yeah, you and I saw the LA Rams, or was it St. Louis at the time?
They were St. Louis at the time. It was like a Monday night preseason game.
Rams on a preseason game on Monday night.
And all I can tell you,
good seats too. We were like in the upper deck, like
how many preseason games can I tell you in detail, like what happened during the game? Not a lot. The few that we've gone to, one was only because it was a Monday night preseason game. I remember that and where we sat. That's about it. The other time, saw the Cincinnati Bengals come to Detroit for a preseason game. Who'd we see him? We went there to see Scott Mitchell, former Lions quarterback, so we could boo him during a preseason game. That's all I can't tell you. Did we win the game? Did we lose the game? I don't know.
Did he play? I don't remember.
I don't know. He might have sat on the bench for all I know. And then
we booed him on the bench.
Then I went to a game without you. Went and saw the New England Patriots for a preseason game. All I can tell you is I went with some friends and we had a good time hanging out. Can't tell you if we won or lost, but that's about it. I can tell you I went to Hockey Town before to have dinner, and that's about it. Okay. Regular season game, I can tell you what happened during that game.
I get it. Settle down. Jeez. Let's move on. Arena Football TV on YouTube.
Hold on. Put that in the highlights for next season.
No. We'll get enough of that later on. Let's see. Arena Football TV on YouTube.
Yeah, one of our favorite channels.
Their site is currently still...
Their channel.
Their channel. over 900 subscribers, and they're looking to get 1,000. So
Yeah, let's help them out, guys.
Help them out by clicking subscribe for them. Get them up to 1,000. They're doing great work over there.
Yeah, you mean, if you were a fan of the league, you might not watch every one of the videos because it's like, oh, that game or these teams I don't remember.
Sure.
But hey, at some point, you're going to see a video of a team that you were rooting for, a team you saw, maybe shoot, even a game you were at.
Yeah,
like us in Arena Bowl 15.
Yep.
They're doing the Lord's work over there at Arena Football TV. So go check them out. It's good stuff. And this week, I mean, they posted a couple of great videos I know we're about to talk about. The first one being that Buffalo Destroyers, announcement of the franchise. It was like a local TV thing.
Yep.
And they were just talking about the new franchise, unveiling the logo and this party. It was a half-hour special.
Yeah.
Who does that?
TV. Yeah.
For Arena Football. It was great. It was cool to see that. You and I watched a little bit of that together the other day, and I just think that's incredible. And you have a nice Buffalo Destroyers mini helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that was one of the coolest logos in the Arena League before they changed it to a logo that is still pretty cool. But that was pretty good. And then the other thing, unless you want to keep talking about that,
no,
the game they posted this week, which has got several ties to us here in Michigan, especially our Grand Rapids Rampage. But the game was between the Milwaukee Mustangs and the Texas Terror in 1997. The quarterback for Texas, why, our favorite Arena Football quarterback, probably one of my top 5 quarterbacks of all time, Clint Dolezal, over there slinging the rock down there, the Texas Terror himself. And then who was Texas's offensive coordinator? Why, Steve Tunn, who would eventually become the Grand Rapids Rampage head coach for a season.
In 1998, yes.
Led them almost to an Arena Bowl.
Yep.
And then he went on to coach the Cleveland Gladiators to an Arena Bowl. So
well, yeah, they lost.
They didn't win, but he led them to an Arena Bowl.
They had an
went to the
incredible
game.
season that year. I think they only lost one game.
One or two games, I forget.
Man. Awesome
and then
season.
who else? Michael Trigg was the head coach of. Was he the head coach of Milwaukee?
Yes.
Yeah. So former Grand Rapids Rampage head coach who did win an Arena Bowl title.
Right. He teamed up with Clinton Dolezal, so they were coach and quarterback in 2001.
So, shoot.
So many connections for Rampage fans.
And to think that
game
was that game was 4 years prior to that Arena Bowl championship they would eventually win in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Steve Tunn wasn't a part of that iteration,
right?
But he'd come on down the line later on. But still, what a cool thing to find, all these cool connections.
Yeah, and I didn't realize all that until I started actually watching the game.
Yeah,
and within
they mentioned all these names right off the bat.
Oh, here's Steve Tunn, and here's Clint Dolezal, and Michael Trigg. I'm like, holy mackerel! It's like a Grand Rapids Rampage who's who out there in this game. So that was awesome.
That was a lot of fun.
All right, we do have one obituary to talk about this week, and that is Bobby Bowden, the legendary college football coach. He has passed away at the age of 91. He was a head coach in college for 47 seasons. He was first started out as a head coach at South Georgia Junior College from 1956 to 1958. People don't talk about that very much. He then became the head coach at FCS Howard College, which was his alma mater. Today it's known as Samford University, and he led that school from 1959 to 1962. He was also the head coach at West Virginia from 1970 to 1974 before taking the job that he's best known for, head coach at Florida State in 1976. Bowden led FSU for 34 seasons from 76 to 2009. FSU went to 28 consecutive bowl games between 1982 and 2009. He won 11 consecutive bowl games between 1985 and 1995. He was named National Coach of the Year 6 times. Bowden was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2006. This man's career goes beyond what little I can put on this page here to talk about his life. For those fans who followed him, they know he was so much more than just what I read here.
Yeah.
But just a great guy. And it was only like a week ago that he made an announcement that he had some terminal disease.
We talked about him last week, I think, and said get better soon.
Yes, and I believe it was pancreatic cancer that he passed away from. So Bobby Bowden, at the age of 91, passed away August 8th last week. So condolences to the family.
Yes, condolences.
Okay, we also do have...
We got a couple birthdays.
One birthday and one sort of anniversary.
Yeah, might as well be a birthday.
For August 10th, defensive back Speedy Duncan turned 79 today. He played his college football at Jackson State. He played 11 seasons in the NFL. He was with the San Diego Chargers from 1964 to 1970. Technically, until 1969 they were AFL, but and then he played for the Washington Redskins from 1971 to 1974. So happy birthday to defensive back Speedy Duncan. And the anniversary that we were talking about is Arena Cup 1 back in 2000, played on August 10th. That was the AF2 title game, and the AF2 was the developmental league of the Arena Football League. They had teams in smaller cities, but they played the exact same game.
Right.
A lot of players got their start in AF2, and then they moved up.
A lot of coaches, a lot of people.
Yep.
And this league, I mean, the AF2 was big. Like
Yeah.
a lot of teams, 20, almost got to 30 teams.
I
at
think
one point.
so, yeah, 29, 30 teams eventually, whereas the AFL itself only had 19 at most.
Right.
But in that very first Arena Cup game, it was the Quad City Steamwheelers over the Tennessee Valley Vipers, 68-59. That game was televised on TNN
I believe
nationally.
you might be able to find that on.
I think so, yes.
Arena
I think
Football
you can.
TV.
Eli Gold was the play-by-play man. Loved Eli
One of our
Gold.
favorite commentators.
Yeah, he was a real asset to the Arena Football League and Arena Football too. So, Arena Cup 1 on this date in 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, you were kind of glancing at your phone here and there.
Don't worry. There's no real breaking news
Okay.
right now.
Okay.
I'm just looking. I get updates and stuff.
All right. Well, then let's go into our semi-history lesson
Yeah.
this week. We thought we would just take a break from the history lesson and just kind of look back at our history.
Yeah, because
this
it's our
past year.
fourth anniversary.
Yes.
Who would have thought that this little old podcast would have lasted this long? That we wouldn't have gotten sick of each other. And I believe every year around this time, I say my resolution for the next year is to at least miss one show.
Yeah.
And I haven't made that promise yet. I keep showing up. Nothing's happened where I've missed a show yet. Thank goodness, maybe.
Yeah. Well,
I think this podcast would burn to the ground without me at this point.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Okay. Well, we've got several highlights we want to play from the past year.
yeah, set them up, and maybe at the end we'll talk about them.
Okay. The first one is from episode 158, which was August 18th of last year. That was about that time when Hard Knocks was premiering, just like Hard Knocks is premiering tonight.
Yeah.
Hard Knocks premiered last year at this time, and that was the episode where they had both the L.A. Chargers and the L.A. Rams on the same show, and they kept bouncing back and forth between the two camps, talking to players and coaches and whatnot. And you didn't see much of that particular show,
Well,
but
not
yet
at
you
that
felt
time.
like you had to expound forever, and it just kind of upset me a little bit. So anyway, this is our Hard Knocks clip from last year. Okay, and speaking of the NFL, HBO's Hard Knocks premiered on HBO
Last Tuesday, there's another one
Tuesday.
tonight.
Yeah, after we recorded our podcast.
Yeah.
And I watched it a day or so later. The thing that got me is the whole episode was kind of boring.
Okay, so I only watched, and right before we went on, I watched the first 10 minutes. It was bad. I didn't do my homework, but I'm going to finish it, and I will watch the second episode before next week.
Yeah, well, the next one's coming out tonight.
Well, tonight. That's what I'm saying. Before next week, I'll watch the second episode. And I like the opening. I thought the first 10 minutes were fine. I'm intrigued because I think I am more into, like, what are these teams doing?
It was, yes.
And you've seen the rest of it, so you'll be able to fill me in. So what I've liked after 10 minutes was the Zoom call at the beginning, and I really like the head coach for the Chargers. I like his demeanor, and you got to see a little bit of his story. He started talking about how he met his wife and everything. So I like that they're making it a little more personal, and I think this whole season will be different, just not in the fact that we got two teams we're focusing on, but also the fact that I think it will be a little more personal. Sure, we're going to get the how they're social distancing and how they're running, the behind the scenes aspects to this weird season we're about to have, this very long shot of a season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're going to get more personal stories, and I think that's what some fans, like, especially if you're a fan of the Chargers or Rams, this should be gravitating to you. Like, I would be sitting there on the edge of my couch listening to Sean McVay speak. I'd be on the edge of my couch listening to, and I forget his name, the head coach of the Chargers, who when he was speaking, I was listening. I was like, whoa, dude, like, I would go into battle for this dude. He's chill. He definitely gets along with his players. And, and I'm anxious to see when they get to the stadium, because I assume that's part of the first episode too. So after they don't get to the stadium?
Listen, you've been spewing for 20 minutes now on 10 minutes of a show that you watched. I've seen the whole thing. Shut up and let me talk about it here for a minute.
Wow.
All right, so it's, like I said, it was kind
Add
of...
that to the clip for the end of the year.
All right, this next clip is, we're calling it Picture in Picture. And this is from episode 162, which was on September 16th of last year. we had just discovered that we could watch 2 games at one time on our TV, and we were so excited. We didn't know we had this capability, and it was something new to us. And boy, were we excited when we actually got to watch a couple games at the same time. So this is our clip entitled "Picture in Picture." Number 14, Texas defeated UTEP 59-3.
Oof.
Number 18, North Carolina over Syracuse 31-6. Louisiana upset number 23, Iowa State 31-14.
Now this was one we had. We just figured out that your TV does split screen. So
Yes.
so we had magically figured out that, oh my God, we could watch 2. You're telling me. Like the moment you told me that your TV had this feature, I looked at you and I said, so you're telling me we could literally watch 2 football games at one time?
We just upgraded. It's not so much our TV, but it's our satellite.
Satellite,
system.
yeah.
And we just upgraded our equipment a month ago or so, and this was the first opportunity. I knew there was a picture-in-picture option.
And the fact that you hadn't said anything to me till just like Saturday.
Well, I played around with it a little
Friday
bit.
night.
I couldn't quite figure it out on my own, and I didn't want to go to the manual.
Because that's right, we used it Friday night during the University of Miami game because we were also watching NBA basketball.
But then we finally figured out you could put two equally sized screens side by side, and you by hitting one button you could flip between the 2 of them. So you took a while to figure out how to set one up on recall.
Oh, but when we got it figured out, now it's
it was magic. It was just magic, and so
we were like
awesome,
a couple of girls at a slumber party talking about the boys we liked, but instead it was talking about, oh my God, we could watch CFL football at the same time as NFL football. So imagine me and Randy doing this while we're painting each other's nails and we got caught in between our toes. And
technically, we could have 3 games going. You could have,
because then you could have one on recall.
Yeah, you'd have 2 on the screen, and one of the 2 you can recall a 3rd game.
Yeah.
So you can go back and forth, and if you see something that's on one as opposed to the other that you like, you can go right to it.
Which is what we did, because like we were watching one game and like not a lot was happening, but then like you looked at the other screen real quick and like, oh, something's something's going on, and then you hurry up and you flip over, because just flipping the screens just changes the audio. I mean, the 2 games are still on there. You're just flipping their position on the screen, but then now the one on the left side is where you're getting your audio from exclusively.
Right.
So we were having fun dealing with that, and then it was weird when we turned the 2 games off and went to the straight up Notre Dame game, and the TV was all filled again. We're like, oh my God,
it was so huge.
Big.
My God,
I can see the pores on Brian Kelly's face. Also, you might want to write down for your yearly podcast. Hey, that was good. My slumber party analogy was really good. You roll your eyes now, but you know you're going to save that.
I will, because you're telling me to. Slumber party.
Yeah, let's see. We're about, we'll say 33 minutes in.
Yeah, 33 minutes in.
Yeah, thank you. Save that. Jeez. This whole bit was gold.
Oh, God.
You're so welcome. We're like a couple of schoolgirls. All right, now what do we got at the number 3 spot?
Well, another one featuring you, sort of. This is where...
I'm flattered.
Where you discovered... Well, go back a little bit. We had talked about the first week of the FC...
Fan-controlled football, the FCF.
FCF. God, I'm terrible with these. So they just had their first week.
Yeah.
And we watched them on, Twitch?
It was on Twitch, yeah.
Okay. And so we were talking about the whole presentation, how we watched it, how the games were, the rules of the game. We went through all that early on in the show. And then at the very end of the show, you came up with some breaking news, and this is what happened after that. This is episode 184 from February 16th, 2021.
We have breaking news real quick.
Oh, okay.
I have just received an email from the Fan-Controlled Football League itself asking me if I want to be a co-owner of the Glacier Boys with Quavo, Richard Sherman, and Destroying. I guess that's a rapper. This is my chance, according to the email, to join Richard Sherman in the owner's box. That's right. I can be an equally real team owner and have real equity. That's highlighted, by the way. The FCF made history in week 1, and you've got a chance. You, they mean me. To get in on the action. But space is filling up quickly. The Beast's owner box is sold out. That's right. That was another story we didn't talk about. Completely funded. The Beast, whatever their GoFundMe page kind of thing was, completely funded. All those fans bought up all that money. I think there's over $200,000 to be part of that ownership group. And trust me, I looked into this earlier today. I was like, how much would it be? Like a minimum $150, I think, to even get in on.
To be an owner of a team?
To be a partial
$150?
I was like, hold on, I've dropped $150 on stupider stuff, I'm sure. I was like, even.
I'm all choked up over this.
I mean, you got Packers fans who have their Packer stock or whatever, but how often could you say you were an owner of a football team? And I've teeter-tottered on the idea of click and submit. God. What do you think?
I say no. But I'm telling you, if we're going to watch games this weekend, I'm assuming...
I better be an owner?
No, they're going to be on Saturday night again, I'm assuming. I don't know what their schedule is. But
I think 8 o'clock.
If I'm going to watch another game this week, I want a Wendy's burger sitting in front of me. Fries and a Frosty. That is my stipulation for watching the game.
But according to this, so I clicked on the become an owner thing, and so for example, the Glacier Boys have raised $203,000. That's 556% of their minimum goal that they've raised. They have 282 investors. And they have
Nerds with money.
And they have 73 days left to invest. Now, hold on. You think about this. I did hear a lot of people are saving money because of the pandemic. And people normally would waste their money like on their basic stuff. But now people are wasting their money on crap on Amazon because they have nowhere else to spend their money. So why not invest my money?
Save it for retirement.
Invest my money in a professional football team.
You're not going to get it back.
I can put it on my resume that I own a professional football team. Are you telling me that ain't going to help in the long run?
It's not going to make you any more money for co-hosting this show.
Hold on. Other investors include Joe Montana. And co-founders of Reddit and Bleacher Report. Come on, guys. Founders have led several venture-backed companies that exist, totaling $2.2 billion. This is a for sure win. I'm being sold.
Are you going to get to go to an owners meeting somewhere in Florida or Arizona or someplace else in the off season?
Yeah, it's called a Zoom meeting. But I don't know. Like I said, I saw this morning and I kind of teeter-tottered. I was like, it's only $150.
Jeez.
It's a minimum investment. But their deal terms. Evaluation.
Deal breaker.
Price per security. Funding goal. Deadline is May 1st. I got time, right?
This next clip involves speculation on halftime shows. Now, this started out as a conversation of an episode of Peyton's Places, which is a great ESPN Plus show.
You love this show.
I watched it. You didn't see them all, but I watched every one of them. Love that show. And on this particular show, he was talking about the very first Super Bowl played at the Coliseum. And I believe Drew Pearson was on that show because he was there with his dad. He was a little kid, and he went to the game and saw the first Super Bowl. And they started talking about In Living Colors. Because
In Living Color, singular.
Well, whatever. But anyway, they got talking about halftime shows and this and that. And so this was just our take on that. This is from episode 183 from February 9th of 2021. And then he also talked to Keenan Ivory Wayans about their 1992 halftime show for In Living Colors. Now, I know you don't remember this. You were only a couple years old. But your mom and I actually watched this. They made a big deal in the weeks leading up to the Super Bowl saying, hey, the Super Bowl is coming up. We're going to do our own halftime show. So once the game goes to halftime, switch back over to Fox because it was on CBS or NBC or something. And he said, and watch our show. And we're going to have a countdown clock in the bottom of the screen so you'll know when to go back, tune it back into the game. And they had some great skits. They had the Homeboy Shopping Network where they were going through the locker room and selling stuff out of the players' lockers. And they had the Men on Football skit. Oh gosh, it was so good. I remember watching that. And then when it was time to go back to the game, you went back to the game. But they talked about how boring and just it was the same thing every year for the halftime shows. They had Up With People, or they had Al Hurt was there for the very first one, I think. And after In Living Colors did their thing, the NFL got wise, and the very next year, Michael Jackson was the featured singer at halftime of the Super Bowl, and then from then on, it's just exploded to Lady Gaga, The Weeknd, all these Paul McCartney and Prince. So I mean, they kind of take credit for the fact that maybe they had something to do with saying, hey, your halftime show is terrible. Do something better, or we'll keep doing this. So it was really, really good.
All right,
And,
I'm gonna say right now, you've been advocating for Weird Al Yankovic to get to play the Super Bowl halftime show, which I'd be down with. But how about, and hear me out here, we get rid of the music act for a year. All right, we've done that before. How about something a little different? It's gonna be in Los Angeles next year. You know what people like in Los Angeles and what they have no shortage of? Stand-up comedians slash improv comedians. So I say you get the cast of Whose Line Is It Anyway to go to the Super Bowl and just have them do a 20-minute bit right there on stage. You could have Drew Carey come back and be like a guest. You could have Aisha Tyler out there being the host like she is right now. You get Colin Mockery. You get Ryan Stiles. You get all those guys out there. Or Wayne Brady. You get a little song. You get a little dance. You get some great skits. Everybody in the stadium is laughing because you know what? When the Lions are down 50-0 at halftime of Super Bowl 56, we could use a good laugh.
And all the skits could be based on something that happened with those teams during the season or whatever.
Right? Like, what are some of the great bits Whose Line does? You've been watching a lot of Whose Line lately, so they do, like, scenes from a hat. Mm-hmm. So how about a scene where Andy Reid comes to a buffet and he's the next person in line?
Scenes from a helmet.
Or there you go. Scene from a... Hi, I just wrote a great bit for your halftime show, Roger Goodell. Hire me. Actually, I guess you would have to hire the Whose Line people, but I would just take a finder's fee.
Pro Bowl Memories, episode 182 from February 2nd. This was a story that you told that I had never heard before.
I'm surprised you've never heard this one.
Well, you might have told me, but I forgot. So anyway,
here it is.
Here's Adam with his Pro Bowl memories.
For me, as somebody who enjoys the Pro Bowl, I'm probably one of the few who does. Mm-hmm. Even though I'll acknowledge the game isn't the greatest game in the world. Players aren't actually hitting each other. Sometimes there's no defense, whatever. I still have fun watching it. I love being able to see all these guys with all their different helmets being on the field at the same time. That's always been my favorite part about it. And it's weird because on this day, February 2nd in particular, the day that my youngest brother was born, I remember the Pro Bowl was a Sunday. The Pro Bowl was on and you were still in the hospital. Because I kept sitting around. We had a babysitter. One of our aunts was babysitting. And I remember sitting around waiting for you to come home because I thought we were going to watch the Pro Bowl together. Screw the new member of the family that you guys just had. I thought you were going to come home and we were going to watch Barry Sanders in '97 in the Pro Bowl. And, well, I don't think you ever did come home that night to watch it with me. I think I watched a little bit by myself before I was forced to go to bed. So that's my memory of – that was like one of my first early memories of the Pro Bowl, and that always sticks out in my head because it's also related to – the younger brother who was born on this day.
Yep. Happy birthday, Abram. 24 today. So, I don't remember you telling me about that memory.
This was way.
Well, of course,
So I was, 8 years old? 97, yeah. Oh, I was about to turn 8 years old, and so, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I guess I never told you that, but I always remember that, sitting on your bed waiting for you to come home from the hospital because I was going to watch it in your room on the TV, and you never came home. And if you did, it was later after I fell asleep.
Interesting. Bitcoin is something I've never understood. I don't get it. I don't like it.
Still don't get it.
I don't. But anyway, this was a conversation we had about Bitcoin. This comes from episode 196 from May 11th, 2021. Let's see. The Kansas City Chiefs have cut tight end Sean Culkin, who wanted his entire 2021 salary to be converted into Bitcoin. Now, that nobody's saying that's the reason that they cut him. I mean, I think it's just a coincidence that he got cut, but he did say that, if he made the team, he was going to do that with his salary. He was going to put it all into Bitcoin. And who was that? Carolina tackle Russell Okung.
Yep.
He put half of his salary in, last year, I think, and made a ton of money.
Yeah, we talked about that. How he jumped up from being like on the outskirts of the top, I forget what range it was, top 10 players, paid players in the league for a season average or something. And he jumped up. He skyrocketed up, and he was in the top tier of, or at least in terms of being paid, because that's how big of a difference that half of his salary got bloated up because of the Bitcoin.
Well, I don't know much about Bitcoin, but I think at the time I said, well, this worked out for him because the cost of Bitcoin could go up or down, just like the stock market. I mean, you put a bunch of money in the stock market, it could go up, it could go down, it could stay the same. You never know what's going to happen. It's a big gamble.
Cryptocurrency right now is kind of that hot trend, and I think we said at the time, I think a lot of players are going to start looking into this. Even regular people will probably start. excuse me, McDonald's Corporation, can you put my weekly salary into Bitcoin? Then I'll be able to retire next week.
Here's your weekly bit penny, because that's how much your McDonald's salary is worth in Bitcoin. But
a bit nugget.
A bit nugget. Very good.
There we go. Put that one on the list of Adam funny things.
I may have to. What is this? About 19 minutes into this one?
Yeah. Okay.
I'll make it.
Yeah. Right. Make a note of that.
All right. The last three.
These are all from the same episode.
All came from the same episode.
Does this make this the greatest episode of all time?
It could be. This is from episode 187 on March 9th of this year. You folks may want to go listen to this entire episode, because we pulled 3 clips just from one episode. The first one here is called Agony and Ecstasy, and we always have a problem. I always have a problem with transitions.
Yeah.
Go from one story to the next. It's not a real smooth transition sometimes, but I actually had a good one this time, and
I do. I give this 4.5 out of 5 stars. That's how good this one is.
The Washington football team has released quarterback Alex Smith. I think it's a real shame, but I kind of understand where they're at. But what do you think? Do you think another team will pick up Alex Smith?
It's tough. I think if he feels like he can still play, go for it, Alex. But I think you've proven that, you came back from the injury, you played, you looked good at a couple of points.
He was the story of the season, I think.
Obviously, he won Comeback Player of the Year.
Yep.
What he did was remarkable, and I don't know if we'll ever really see a story quite like it. It's going to be rare if it is. But I understand from a football perspective, if you're Washington, you just got rid of your rookie quarterback from last year, your first-round pick. You got rid of him. Now you got this veteran, and you got some other younger quarterbacks you'd like to see or bring up, and a 30-something-year-old, I won't say bum-legged, but, guy who's been banged up, literally just came back from an injury that almost killed him.
Yeah.
You can't build your franchise around him for the next 10 years, unfortunately. Is he even a viable stopgap? Maybe, but I think the smart play is to move on and start. You got to start young and working them.
I say get another. Draft a quarterback and let Alex Smith play. In the
meantime. They got a couple of that Heineke guy looked good, and there's only so many guys you can keep on your roster.
Yeah.
And with Alex Smith, I mean, like I said, if he wants to still play, I hope a team at least gives him a legitimate look.
Sure.
Like some of these teams that don't have a quarterback or who get a rookie quarterback and say, hey, look, eventually we're going to go to the rookie, but Mr. Smith, if you feel like you can do it, maybe we'll put you in a starter role, kind of like what Fitzgerald did or Fitzpatrick did down in Miami with Tua. So we'll see. I wish nothing but the best for that guy because heck of a story, and I mean that's going to be an all-timer.
Yeah.
Just in terms of comeback stories. I'm sure we'll see a movie about him.
Yeah, could be. All right, from the agony of getting released to the ecstasy, Dak Prescott, who will turn the
Hold on. How long did you work on that transition? Because that was pretty good.
I wrote it down while you were talking.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Let me see the notes. Let me see. Hold on. I'm looking at his notes from Aoni to
I can read my handwriting.
Your handwriting is awful, by the way. But he did write something down that was sort of legible.
Dak Prescott, who will turn the ripe old age of 28 in July.
To be young again.
Signs a 4-year, $160 million contract with the Dallas Cowboys with $123 million guaranteed. This next clip is about developmental leagues, and Adam came up with an idea on how he thought the NFL, and he's always said the NFL should have a developmental
I think we
league.
both have. You wrote an article about it based on some stuff we talked about before years ago in the Coffin Corner. Helped you plug that one. But developmental league is something I do think the NFL, I cannot believe they haven't cracked. And they
had NFL Europe for so many years, but that went away, and they've never come up with anything else.
But hey, we're just trying to help. Yeah. So here's my ideas, or some of my ideas. I got more, Mr. Goodell. And if you need the address for that check we talk about, just send it over here. Someday I would love to see the NFL finally sanction a developmental league of their own with the NFL shield on it, and go to some of these cities that used to have NFL teams. Go back to your San Diego's, go back to your Oakland's, go back to your
St. Louis.
St. Louis's. Like, let's put some teams in places You know,
that have a history with the
they
NFL.
have a history. Keep them in the family. Sure, they might not be the top tier NFL teams, but you give them a nice developmental team, give them a new name, a new identity, and bring football back to these cities that loved football and that were there to support you.
Like lowercase NFL number 2. Like the AF2 from the
I'm
AFL.
thinking the NDL, the National Developmental League.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure hold on, the NFL's got like the best marketing people in the world. I'm sure they could figure something out.
Just the NFL logo with a number 2 written over it. Like in
NFL second class.
No,
NFL.
They don't do anything second class.
I already got it. It's going to be the Silver League.
Silver League.
Because the NFL is the gold standard, so the Silver League will be the next step down.
Wow.
Don't send all the checks at once there, Mr. Goodell.
I better mark this for the year-end show.
Hold on, this whole show is I'm giving you nothing but gold. You might as well save everything I do.
Uh-huh. And finally, our last clip from last year.
His favorite clip from last year
is called UFO Talk.
And
we went off the rails on this one. We got so sidetracked.
Hold on, and you went off the rails putting this into the show because originally everybody, and I want everybody to thank me, this clip would have been 8 minutes long had I not stepped in and said, I think 8 minutes, Randy, might be a little too long.
Yeah, it was.
And I mean, this segment's already going on pretty long.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you cut it down. I do think this is a good bit. And like you said, that episode, go back, listen to the whole crazy conversation we get into because we had to kind of stop it at your UFO experience. We didn't even touch on my UFO
experience. I cut out all your stuff because you're getting too much airtime this week.
It is true.
But
it's like I'm 50% of this podcast or something.
This all started out with Baker Mayfield and his wife saying that they think they saw a UFO, and we just kind of went off.
And it just spiraled out of
that.
control.
So here's UFO Talk, the last episode from the last clip from episode 187, March 9th, 2021. All right, let's go to some NFL news. One of the big stories this week was J.J. Watt.
Hold on, this is the story you're leading with when the biggest story of the week is the fact that Baker Mayfield and his wife saw a UFO. Why we didn't even mention that off the top, I don't know. This is headline news right here, everybody.
Okay, we'll start with that one. Baker Mayfield and his wife say they think they're almost 100% sure they saw a UFO recently. It was a big bright white light that was just coming straight down to the ground from the air. And they told the story on Instagram and Twitter. I think
I saw Baker tweet it, and right off the bat, my favorite thing was one of the first big comments on his tweet was somebody with a picture of Colin Cowherd and a big quote like what he would say, which is, I don't like my franchise quarterbacks seeing UFOs. I'd rather see him in the weight room training up, studying the playbook. And essentially, that's what Colin Cowherd did in real life. And I wasn't sure at the time. I was like, I can't tell if Colin's doing this like kind of tongue-in-cheek or if he's kind of serious and just putting on a show.
From what I've read, he's always not been.
He's always dogged on Baker.
He's always dogging Baker Mayfield. But soon after Baker put out that tweet, and his wife expounded a little more on Instagram, I guess. But Nate Burleson of Good Morning Football came out and talked about how he saw several UFOs at one time, and he was talking. I saw a video, I think it was on Twitter, where he actually drew pictures of what the lights looked like, kind of like in a line formation or whatever, and then he had arrows pointing at. First they started out here, and then they went down here.
Kind of like a football diagram?
Then they moved over here, and then they came all the way down here, and then they shot off in this direction, and he was serious about what he saw, but he had diagrammed this whole thing out on a piece of paper.
I believe him.
Well, I believe him too.
Well, hold on. You are the guy that sits and watches a UFO show, wondering how do they turn the cows inside out? I'm going to stick around for this half-hour episode, and I want the answers by the end of it. Darn it! Why are these cows being turned inside out? And then, gosh darn it! Don't you know when they get to the end of the episode and they don't figure out how the cows got turned inside out? Dad's just like, who knew? I didn't know I wasn't going to get the answers after a half hour of this alien show. Well, on to the next alien show, where I'm sure we're going to get more unanswered questions.
I love watching UFO shows. I've always been fascinated by the subject.
He's also got a bunch of books in his basement.
I've read several books on the subject. I've never personally seen a UFO.
I've seen a couple.
There was one night when I thought I saw a UFO, and it was really funny because I was...
It just turned out it was a smudge on his glasses.
Well, no, I was a teenager, and my mom and I were in South Bend, Indiana, and she wanted to run into the store. So I'm sitting out in the car all by myself, and so I'm in this grocery store parking lot, looking around, and all of a sudden up in the sky I see like these swirling lights It looked like they were rotating or whatever, and they just slowly moving through the sky, and they kept getting closer and closer, like they were going to go right over our car. And I just kept looking at them going, what the hell is that? And finally, when they got close enough, what it was an airplane with a lighted sign underneath it. It was like a moving sign where they had, like a bunch of lights where they could spell things out, like Eat at Joe's or something like that, or something. I don't know what they were advertising, but until it got right up to me, I thought it was a UFO, but it obviously was not. But that's the one time that I thought that I had seen a UFO, but I really haven't. But I'm fascinated by all these shows.
Clearly.
And the whole subject of UFOs.
And Bigfoot.
What they are. Yeah, I like Bigfoot too, the Loch Ness Monster. And you name it. If you got a mystery, I'm there.
Okay, look, I know we're running pretty long today.
Yeah,
it's an anniversary show. We expected that we would. But I guess real quick, what of those is your favorite? I could probably already guess that the UFO talk is your favorite clip.
I don't know. Probably UFO talk, or maybe the picture-in-picture.
Picture-in-picture was pretty good.
But there's a pattern with these. You can see in a lot of these, we knew that we had audio gold at the time, because you were saying, mark that down. The 30-minute mark. We want to remember this one.
Because I know you like to keep track, so I have to say it out loud.
I make a list. I have a list with me every week, and if we have something really good, I'll note the episode. I'll note the time so that I can go back and find it, because I pull all these out just yesterday for the past year. I don't do it as we go along, but
maybe you should.
I
Save some time.
I pulled them all out.
Probably
and
have a lot of clips.
Yeah, but at least that way they're all fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
because
there's some good stuff. I think I'm partial to that Hard Knocks one, because I guess I won't lie. Like I do most episodes, I pull a lot of that stuff out of my butt. But I mean,
talking.
I expanded upon the good 10 minutes that I saw, and I thought it was a good breakdown of the first 10 minutes of Hard Knocks.
All right,
I stand
up.
by that.
We got to move on. Upcoming events. Tonight, HBO's Hard Knocks featuring the Dallas Cowboys premieres.
Yep, HBO Max. Get that subscription if you don't already have it. I think on top of obviously already having it myself, it's a great service. Everybody's got their Netflixes, and they're like, oh, do I want to pay for another streaming service? Guess what? It's one of the best streaming services out there. They got a bunch of quality stuff. I'm not just saying that. They're not paying me to say it. If they were, I wouldn't be here right now. But, it's a good, solid service, a lot of good shows. And the fact that now you'll get your Hard Knocks on there, I'm telling you, for what? I don't know if it's with ads or not, but they said starting at $10, which is a pretty decent deal. I think I don't even think, mine came with my phone. Some people might get lucky. Mine came with my phone.
And don't they have an NFL review show or preview show every week on HBO too? They do.
I don't know. If they do, I
can't tell you what the name of it is.
I can't say as I've watched. I thought that was Showtime that does this week.
I thought it was HBO.
I don't remember.
Maybe it is Showtime.
Clearly, I don't spend as much time on the app that I really love that I
just like ESPN Plus because I can get my Canadian football games that aren't on TV, and I can get Peyton's Places and probably Eli's show.
Right now, HBO Max just for doing Hard Knocks. But hey, right now is a good time. I mean, as that movie that just came out, The Suicide Squad, which I love. I'm going to plug that real quick.
We're running long here.
I'd say go see it in theaters, but if you can't, it's on HBO Max with your subscription. So go check it out.
All right. In other upcoming events, this Saturday night, August 14th, the National Arena League Championship game, Columbus Lions at the Albany Empire. You can watch that game live, streaming on YouTube. They have their own National Arena League channel on YouTube, so you can check that out live this Saturday night. August 28th, week 0 in college football, and right now they've got 5 games currently scheduled. They've got Nebraska at Illinois, UConn at Fresno State, Hawaii at UCLA, UTEP at New Mexico State, and Southern Utah at San Jose State.
Yeah, that Big Ten matchup is the big one. Nebraska at Illinois. That should be interesting, fun game, and to start the season off with a Big Ten game. Because every year I feel like maybe they pick a different conference to kick things off. Last year I want to say it had to have been the ACC maybe, because I want to say it was like Miami. It was Miami and somebody else kicked off the season last year, I want to say. I could be wrong. It's been a year. But I think it's great that they kind of pick one big game to kind of kick off week 0. But that's like a 1 o'clock kickoff, which is a little surprising. You think that game would have been the night game. But
they got these games stretched out all through the day.
5 games throughout. Oh, that's going to be a great Saturday.
Yeah. And San Jose State, they are coming to Western Michigan.
Yep, we got our tickets for that, didn't we?
Right here to Kalamazoo, and I've got a couple tickets to that game. So we will be seeing San Jose State in a few weeks.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
Anything else before we wrap up our
extra long, extra stuff.
4th anniversary spectacular
Boy.
Anniversary show.
No, other than I do vow that for at least one time in the next calendar year, I will not be here for a Tuesday. I think my birthday.
We'll record on a Wednesday.
Hold on. I think my birthday does fall on a Tuesday.
Oh, you're not
next
going to
year.
record on your birthday?
And I think that's the one I would like to avoid.
Oh, come on.
Who wants to?
Where else would you rather be but here with me talking football?
Dave and Buster's. That's where I'd rather be.
I'll see if we can record our podcast
Oh my
at
God!
a Dave and
Don't
Buster's.
ruin my Dave and Buster's trip. Gosh, put that in the next year's clips already.
All right, so next week we're going to be starting year 5, and so that's going to be our 5th NFL season that we've covered.
Yeah.
We've been doing this a while, and we plan to continue it for now.
Hey, we want to thank all of our listeners out there.
Both of you.
Well, many of you that may be out there. We love, interacting with people. We're starting to get, we're starting to make some friends on this podcast, doing this podcast thing out there. So we want to thank all you guys for listening, and we appreciate you guys, your support. And we help the show out, tell more people about us. I mean, we're still here doing it.
Yep. We're not selling anything. We're just
we're not making any money. That's for damn sure.
We're just talking football every week, and if you like it, tell your friends about us.
Yep. And sometimes I get to talk about movies, which is great. And I haven't even once plugged my own movie YouTube channel. I hope you're proud.
Go ahead, plug it real quick.
Nope, I refuse to plug it. I kind of sort of just did, but not really.
Well, maybe we'll do that next week.
Yeah.
All right, that's all the time we've got for this week.
Is it? Seems like we got all the time in the world.
Shut up. If you learned something during this podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
Yep, that's right. You can like The World of Football on Facebook at TWF Kalamazoo. We also post a lot of unique pictures, stories, highlights, and whatever else we find from the world of football. That all goes straight to there, as well as our Twitter, which is at TWOF Kalamazoo. New episodes of this podcast are posted every single Tuesday.
Pretty much.
For dang near 4 years. And are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So please subscribe, rate, review, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation.
And remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than we do. Join us again next week when we'll review all the happenings in and around the world of football. Until then, I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm the other Snow.
And we'll see you all next week.